Hello, this is Jaco. Well, I was wondering if there would be enough hidden details in the Raiders Direct to be worth me making another video. Oh boy, is there ever. There are so many things, almost bordering on too many, in the 50 minutes of footage between the Direct and the bonus Treehouse coverage. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Since the Direct basically started with the Salmonids, I will here as well. There's not much new we hadn't already seen with the lesser Salmonids, but I ain't getting names for the new ones. The Sprinkler guys are called Spinooks, and the Explodey guys are Sparkies. Onto the bosses. The final returning bosses we hadn't yet seen have now been shown. Flipper Floppers and Moz. I guess that Salty Tongue replacing Moz theory is out the window, though I still think they're the same species, like with Steelheads and Big Shots. There are some new details about other returning bosses too. Fish sticks now have a crank at the bottom, which lowers the stick height when attacked. Also, Big Shot hoppers drop their cannonball on defeat, which then creates player-friendly shockwaves. For new boss details, the winged salmonid's name is the Salivator, and their bags aren't actually toxic mist. They create a whirlwind that deals small, consistent damage to the players inside it. And when destroyed, they create a brief jump-boosting updraft. Last but not least, the Smoker, another new boss, produces smoke clouds that give what seem to be an 80% defense buff to fellow salmonids, who are touching the cloud, while also dealing small consistent damage to players. The defense percentage could change with difficulty choice, but man, 80% is a threateningly heavy defense buff. Now, for those jumbo-sized bosses we saw in the previous trailers, turns out their official classification is Seasoned Boss Salmonids. I liked Jumbo, but the dual meaning of Seasoned for flavor when eaten and Seasoned Battle Veteran is nothing short of amazing. We've already seen the Big Stack Stinger and Thick Cut Salty Tongue, and they showed the Minced Scrapper fairly well, so I'm going to point out the ones that weren't shown as well. The Steel Eel, which just seems to be extra long, the Moz, which is about triple the size of the normal ones, and the Steelhead, whose attack they tried to hide. Yeah, the seasoned Steelhead bombs explode multiple times, like a fizzy bomb. And the Jumbo Big Shot Hopper, it attacks with at least 3 rapid shockwaves. Just like the normal Big Shot Hoppers, though, they also drop their cannonball on defeat. Lastly, for the Salmonids, this logbook page shows the giant king-size Salmonids are called Majestic Salmonids. Also, is that a Goldie? Maybe it'll be a Goldie variant, which drops a lot of Spiralite, or even Mega Power Eggs, since there's no sign of golden eggs yet in Raiders, and Mega Power Eggs seem to have taken their place. I wonder, if seasoned Salmonids show up in future iterations of Salmon Run, would they then drop 9 golden eggs? Since Mega Power Eggs seem to be worth 3 golden eggs apiece, and the seasoned Salmonids drop 3 Mega Power Eggs. Now for the main weapon stuff. To start, Brellas and Splatonas have finally been confirmed, meaning all weapon classes are returning, and given these weapon sorting categories, it doesn't look like there are any new main weapon classes, and the star value for main weapons seems to max out at 4. As for new main weapons, we now have Jet Squelcher, Splat and Tentabrellas, Explosher, Splat Dualies, Heavy Splatling, E-Leader, Rapid Pro, Stamper, and Wellstring? Or rather, a Wellstring crossed with a Tri-Stringer. A Penta-Stringer, if you will. They said there was over 100 main weapons to collect. The Horde Research Percentage/Reward gauge, if its current pattern holds true, indicates about 150 of them total, but that probably includes the 3 stat variants per weapon. Oh yeah, if you didn't notice or register that, every main weapon has variants with different stat optimizations, like ink efficiency, or paint plus either range or AoE. I'm starting to wonder just how loosely they are porting main weapons to this game, between the naming conventions, especially for X-Splasher and Heavy, and the Pentastringer. Also, it seems like they've confirmed that the upgrade perks on the main weapons come pre-installed on some of them. Though, it would be nice if you could adjust or otherwise add them in any way. Remember, we saw previously that main weapons could hold more than one perk, and hunting for a specific main weapon with a specific set of them could get annoyingly tedious very quickly. Next up, the ink tanks and gadgets. So, did anyone else call the gadgets being exclusive to the ink tanks? Not that I saw, which, admittedly, I haven't watched much other Raiders trailer analyses, but still. Anyways, I think I know what the ink tank limiter release bar does now. Shown in the Treehouse footage, spending skill points builds towards the limiter release. I now suspect that just removes these locked sections of the skill point bars, meaning you'll have to diversify your skill points a bit, and can't just dump them all into one stat. Speaking of skill points, it turns out there's a secondary way to get them beyond leveling up. Skill tomes. On the topic of tank upgrades, it turns out the ink tank upgrade perks are one and the same to the relic powers. More on those later. And the limiter release might also be how you unlock additional relic power slots, on top of the skill point ones, since the relic powers are tied to the ink tanks. And it seems that the ink tanks have their own kind of experience bars filled by power eggs. These unlock some kind of ability unique to each tank, and probably the third gadget slots that were mentioned as well. Hold up a second, what is that? Why is there a speed gadget on the power tank? I guess this means the third gadget slots play by a different rule set, though only time will tell what that rule set is. Now for the gadgets. They finally gave the names for a ton of them, and showed a total of 15 of them in action. Starting with the power gadgets, we already saw the Splatchet, Splatolites, and Spin Wheel pretty extensively. Now we can add to them the Meteor Mitt, which is basically a splashdown. Yeah, the Blast Boot isn't the only one. And we finally get to see what that dang conch one does. After a brief charge period, it fires what looks like a mini Booyah Bomb. This one looks really fun. Conch Cannon would be a pretty fitting name for it, yeah? On to the speed gadgets, which we knew the least about before this direct. While we'd seen the Dash Bomb and Booyah Ring, the Blast Boot was the only one we'd seen in action, and in a TV spot no less. This leaves two more, one that seems to be a vertical jump version of the Dash Bomb, and this Zipcaster grappling hook one. I think some good names for it could be Ink Hook, Zip Hook, or especially Zip Shot. For the tactical gadgets, they already showed the Shot Pot, and we saw the bomb balloons in action before too. The Tether Whale is completely new though, and of all the potential the third gadget slots have, pairing this with the Zip Shot is what I would want to try most. Next is the High Fiver, a deployable that fires a quintet of thin, damage-dealing lasers. Finally, there's this propeller thing that generates a massive whirlwind of an updraft. Given the UI on the gadget crafting and equipping menus, alongside the Horde gadget documentation, I suspect that these are all of the gadgets in the game. All 15 of them. However, they've likely barely scratched the surface of what they can do, given the sheer amount of gadget part upgrade perks that you can collect, craft, and otherwise use to customize their abilities. There's so many of them that I'm not even going to try listing them here. Some more obvious examples that weren't blatantly spotlighted though include turning the Shot Pot into a blaster and the Splatolites into a set and forget deployable. Now for the hideout ship stuff, starting with the Horde. The main thing in the Horde will likely be the treasures you've looted, mainly the relics. Apparently, relics are a some assembly required kind of treasure, meaning as you find pieces and assemble relics, you up their monetary value and upgrade the associated relic powers, some of which are Ink Tank exclusive. The relic powers themselves are pretty interesting now that we have a glimpse of some of the things that they can do. Boosting HP and danger recovery rate, run plus swim speed up, better ink consumption with bonus paint at your feet, a double jump that deals a bit of damage and knockback, making Mega Power Eggs easier to collect and giving bonus ink and HP from collecting them. And then for some of the tank exclusive ones, gadgets cooling down faster when moving, airborne, or hit with melee attacks, more damage being dealt to further away Salmonids, better HP and ink recovery when submerged, and a chance of Salmonids exploding when defeated. I saw this last one in that I Separate Two Dudes video, which I linked below. Wait, can't forget about this one, Squid Roll attack, which was actually shown earlier in the direct. Also, as you amass treasure value, your title gets promoted, which comes with the Spiralite Shard multiplier. The other big thing in the Horde, besides the Salmonid weapon and gadget logbooks, are the Briny Scrolls, basically rebranded Sunken Scrolls. The two shown in the direct are probably newspaper clippings that fell out of the helicopter during the crash, given their contents. Also, you get resource bonuses for hitting collection milestones in each Horde category. It turns out the Hideout ship has its own upgrade level, and increasing said level unlocks new gadget blueprints and likely more features in all of the facilities too. Speaking of facility upgrades, did you catch the kind of things that the firing range portion of the HS can be customized with? Aside from the typical dummy balloons, there's a power egg canister dispenser, likely for practicing showstopper abilities, normal floating balloons, a turret reminiscent of the Splatoon 3 lobby's copy bot, and even an arcade cabinet where you can play the minigame they showed a glimpse of. Lastly, there's a tow bar on the front for Master Mega and Fry's eels to move the Hideout ship with. They are shown in the loading screen towing a smaller raft to bring the bot and loot back from the raids after all. Now for something that has become a surprisingly fascinating topic. They showed more of the map, which means more island and level names. Verdi seems to unscramble to Fried, and given the level name Frida Trail, Frida sounding a lot like Fritter, that seems to be correct, and very fitting for a volcanic, lava-based area. Sire unscrambles to Rice, and its level is the Rise Bolden, which sounds a lot like Rice Bowl. Also, that's too many steel eels for my liking. Over in this clip, we see what is likely a majestic Salmonid level / boss fight on this island, Izakaya Island, though I couldn't figure out if it unscrambles to anything, even with a Google search. Maybe the majestic layers follow a different naming scheme? Also, notice the compasses at the top here? I wonder what they point to, if anything. Do you need them to locate the majestic Salmonid layers, or maybe they point to a hidden level? Who knows? Anyway, this scene also showed a couple more levels. The Pipioni Cliffs on Zappiz Island, and the Carbonara Wetlands and Spaghetti Den on Spada Island. Once again, the food theming fits perfectly for Salmonid lands, given Salmonids basically worship the circle of life, including being eaten themselves. Now for some quick-fire multiplayer details. Lives are shared by all players, and you respawn at the bot when splatted, even in single player. The host player is the leader of the crew, and that does come with special privileges. Non-host players can super jump to the host. All players can call the bot to them for backup. but only the host player can trigger drilling. Non-host players have shadow showstopper abilities made fully of ink, though this is just an aesthetic detail. And yes, it is specifically the non-leader players who have the shadow showstoppers, not just the other players you're playing with. Salmonid level is altered based on player levels, and the call for help is actually a special multiplayer lobby. It goes on cooldown once used, and successfully answering other players' calls gives special rewards. Also, failed multiplayer raids, or at least failed call for help sessions, don't let you keep the collected loot, unlike normal. Call for help seems to be the closest thing this game has to a matchmaking with randoms queue. Now for a couple of miscellaneous other things. Sometimes the spiralite chunks salmonids gather around glow red. These signal anomalies, comparable to Side Order's danger modifiers, but only for the immediately nearby salmonids. More returning single-player mechanics to add to the list of already returning ones: ink rails, grind rails, bounce pads, and the spectator camera pad things that were in Alterna. They finally showed Fry's showstopper ability in action. It's pretty simple, she just kinda carpet bombs the area with her eels. However, something you might not have caught from the Treehouse footage is that showstopper abilities can also be upgraded. It has something to do with strengthening your bond with the members of Deep Cut. Also, I was wrong earlier about there not being any new lesser salmonid details. There is one at the end of the direct, a new type of Gohawk that throws these speared urchin things that look explodey. Oh yeah, another thing the Treehouse crew showed is the saved loadout slots. When it comes to unlocking the non-amiibo outfits, did you catch that they are basically achievement rewards? And finally, towards the end of the trailer, there's hints towards a deeper story than just loot these new salmonid-infested islands to raise money for Splatsville. I can't wait to see what new lore implications come out of Raiders, especially with how versatile a material the spiralite crystal seems to be. And here we are. I would say that was everything, but given the sheer amount of details hidden between the direct and Treehouse coverage, and the fact that I chose not to cover the gadget parts in particular, I can't make promises about having found everything. I certainly tried though. Honestly, I'm surprised I managed to condense everything down this much, given there was almost 50 minutes of footage to go through. Anyways, I'm not sure what kind of videos I'll be doing for Raiders. My current thoughts are maybe a more traditional Let's Play, or perhaps myth-busting / guide type of stuff. Or maybe something more usual for me in clip montages. I don't really want to try streaming for Raiders. And honestly, most of these options require that I play the game in docs mode to screen capture the footage, and I currently still play Splatoon in handheld mode. Maybe now's the time I try to learn the motion aiming while docked, unless there actually is an option for Joy-Con to mouse mode aim, which doesn't seem likely at this point. I suppose we'll just have to wait and see what I decide. At the end of the day though, this channel is just a hobby, and it's not even monetized either. Anywho, this has been Jaco, and bye!